Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone. Kevin Schroeder here from Cop Talk. I'm out of town on a special covert assignment, so I cannot be with you today. Instead, my partner from Crime Fighting, Captain Ed Mehmet, will be your host for today's show. He will be assisted by our producer, Joe Diamond, so sit back and enjoy and stay safe out there.
Welcome to Cop Talk. I'm Joe Diamond, producer of Cop Talk. I'm here with retired New York City Police Captain Ed Mehmet. Ed, say hi.
Hello, WABC listeners. I'm glad to be back again for another podcast.
So President Trump has put forth a detailed public safety plan that could stop the flood of crime and disorder engulfing America. The heart of the plan, I believe, is its recognition that police play a central role in protecting the nation. Today's guest will help us delve into the plan and what it means for America. Karoline Leavitt served President Trump as assistant press secretary during his first term. She later was the communications director for New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. A fast-rising young star in the Republican Party, she was the GOP nominee for Congress last year in New Hampshire's 1st District. She's currently the spokeswoman for MAGA Inc., working hard to get President Trump elected to a second term. Karoline, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Ed, thank you so much for what you did in New York. I was reading up a little bit on your background, and it's very impressive. So thanks for your service.
Oh, you read my 40-year career.
You sure did. Longer than I've been alive, not to make you feel old.
That's all right. I feel young, but even though my body feels old, my brain is still active.
That's good. I wish our current president, had the same mental acuity that you do.
Well, he's younger than me.
That's hard to believe, huh?
So, Karoline, President Trump has spoken forcefully about revitalizing police departments. His anti-crime plan includes funding to hire and retain police officers, strengthening qualified immunity, and providing other protections for cops trying to keep America safe. If he wins next year, but Democrats still control one or both houses of Congress, how will he get their backing? Is he prepared to go to the mat for this?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on the show today. I really appreciate it. I'm the spokeswoman, as you mentioned, for the super PAC supporting President Trump, because we believe strongly that he is the only option to return America to safety, to make America safe again. As we've seen under Joe Biden's tenure in regime, really, lawlessness has taken a precedent over law and order. And that's not the American way. Donald Trump went to the mat for our men and women in blue, for law enforcement officers, for our United States Border Patrol before. In his first 4 years in office, he was hailed as a law and order president. I worked in President Trump's White House many a times, sheriffs from across this great nation, law enforcement officers from New York City, and even small towns in the heartland of America came to the White House to give their praise to the president for delivering on his promises. And he's ready to do that again. I would argue more than ever now, seeing the damage that Joe Biden's lawlessness agenda has really wreaked. It's wreaked havoc in American cities. You look at New York City with their disastrous bail reform policies. You know that better than I do, having served there, having lived there. You see it now in Los Angeles. They've reinstated their no bail their bail reform law as well. So President Trump's ready to do this. It's a day one priority for him, as it was in the first 4 years. And if he's back in that White House in 2025, what the chances are much more likely that he will be, the chances are that we'll have a pro-Republican, pro-law and order Senate and House as well. Unfortunately, the modern day Democrat Party has become the party of lawlessness, the party of defunding the police. We have to elect Republicans up and down the ballot so they can institute a pro-police, pro-American, pro-law and order agenda. President Trump's committed to that.
Wow, that was a great answer. Well, based on his first term as president and the unrelenting assault from the Democrats and their hacks in the media, what lessons has he learned that will help him pass his anti-crime plan?
Well, I certainly think there's been a lot of lessons learned for so many of us, right? All Americans, realizing not only the fact that the Democrats want law and lawlessness to reign across this nation, and their real hypocritical stances on every issue, right? They want to defund publicly funded, taxpayer-funded local police that protect everyday American citizens, especially in cities, minority Americans who the Democrats claim to care about so much, but in fact they don't. Defunding the police has had a detrimental impact on minority communities across this nation. But then they want their own private police force, right? Same thing when it comes to our Second Amendment rights, the rights of law-abiding Americans to defend and protect themselves. You see the case of Daniel Penny in New York City, who was defending himself and those on that train. He's being demeaned by the far left district attorney, Alvin Bragg, the same far left district attorney that weaponized the justice system in New York City to go after Donald Trump. You're seeing this at the highest level of our federal government, too. These law enforcement agencies, unfortunately, the upper echelon of them being weaponized against their political opponent rather than doing the job of seeking law and order and demanding justice. And so I think we've all learned a lot about just how deep this lawlessness goes. It's not just your everyday average police department that they want to tear down. It's the Department of Justice, the highest justice-seeking department in the agency in this land, that they want to tear down too and use for their own political opportunity rather than preserving justice and law and order for the American people. So Donald Trump has talked a lot about ensuring that we are supporting the everyday law enforcement agents who are truly out there to put bad guys away and protect good guys, not to pursue a political agenda at the bequest of Joe Biden and other powerful politicians.
You know, his plan has set a monumental goal of, quote, dismantling every gang, street crew, and drug network in America. That's quite a project. Is it doable? You know, and is there a timetable for achieving something on this scale?
Well, look, if we look at what Donald Trump has promised us, the American people, before, whether it was building a border wall, everyone said that was impossible. In fact, a lot of Democrats said it was racist, which is just ridiculous. They say that about everything this president wants to do when it is in fact not. Or defeating ISIS. Donald Trump completely dismantled the ISIS caliphate, one of the most powerful terrorist organizations in the Middle East, and he did it. He took out Soleimani, and he disrupted ISIS's power and control over that territory, while he also had adversaries in the Middle East come together to sign the historic Abraham Accords. These are lofty goals. These are historic achievements that only Donald Trump, an unconventional businessman from New York City, could accomplish. The same man that you look at many of the skyscrapers in New York built by himself. So absolutely, it's possible, especially when you have a president who is not beholden to anyone in Washington, D.C., special interest groups or lobbyists. He truly wants to do what's right by the American people. And one of his specific policies in his Agenda 47 plan that will help to dismantle the drug trafficking and human trafficking rings that you speak of, drug cartels as well, is bringing the death penalty to drug dealers. That's a strong policy position to take. It's one Donald Trump has wholeheartedly believed in and pushed forth in this campaign, because it will serve as a very strong means of deterrence to ensure that people know if they are dealing deadly fentanyl to American citizens, of which 110,000 innocent Americans fell victim to, lost their lives to last year alone, then you're going to die as well. And that's a powerful statement to make. It's one Donald Trump will deliver on, and it will serve as a great deterrent to many of these drug cartels and dealers who have become more rich and powerful than ever under Joe Biden's open border policies.
Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom: The Dark Ages. Available May 15th on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. Pre-order now.
Rated M for mature.
So in connection with this, President Trump has said he would also consider using the National Guard to restore safety in some of the worst cities in the country. And that might mean invoking the Federal Insurrection Act. It's been done many times before, but it's still a huge step, and it would no doubt create serious backlash. Would the president be willing to take that kind of risk?
Well, look, the president's willing to do anything to support and protect the innocent Americans in Democrat-run cities that are being gunned down at record rates. So I think we could trust that he will do anything possible to ensure that innocent Americans in Chicago, in New York, in San Francisco, who are dying at the hands of dangerous criminals who are then set free days later because of weak Democrat politicians, he will do everything in his power to ensure that the American people are protected and that we restore safety and sanity to these Democrat-run cities and communities.
You mentioned Biden's open borders policy, which is it's just outrageous. America is starting to feel like the last days of the Roman Empire. It really feels like a full-scale invasion. Open borders have led to a tidal wave of crime and drugs, especially fentanyl. If President Trump gets back in office, how will he reassert control over the border?
Joe Biden's open border policy is arguably the greatest issue that we face in this nation right now. As you mentioned, it's an invasion of not only illegal humans, more than 7 million that we know of. I would argue the number is much more, as President Trump has consistently said. Many of these people are not good people who love America. They're actually quite the opposite. They are the very worst of our adversary nations, our enemy nations. They are sending mentally ill people. They are sending convicted rapists and felons, gang members. 70 people on the terror watch list last year alone. And so this is an invasion of our country that Donald Trump will do everything to stop. He has committed very specific policy agenda items to do that, including, of course, continuing the construction of the border wall, which was very, very effective. We saw that in the last administration. Also, he said that he will deploy all necessary military assets, including the United States Navy, to impose a full naval embargo on the cartels, and ordered the DOD to make an appropriate use of special forces, designate those drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations as well, and then cut off their access to the global financial system. That's how you will shut down the border. And also, to your previous question, dismantle these very powerful and now rich drug cartels under Joe Biden's regime. These people are openly trafficking on the southern border. We see the video of it, right? They're making a mockery of our nation and our weak president.
You know, what you mentioned before is what happened with the Mariel boat lift when Cuba sent the same kind of people to the United States. Mm-hmm. And if you remember that movie with Al Pacino, you know, it's reminiscent of that. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah,
most certainly. I mean, look, this is the least secure border we've ever had in United States history. And to think our enemies aren't looking at this and taking advantage of it is you're being willfully ignorant, right? I mean, our enemies sense weakness from Joe Biden at every turn. It started with this day one executive order to slash Donald Trump's effective immigration policies, such as remain in Mexico, the migrant protection protocols. He slashed those via executive order on day one. Then, of course, we had the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan that led 13 of our own young service members dead. God bless them. May they rest in peace, because Joe Biden is incompetent. Putin would have never invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump was still in office. And so our enemies are taking advantage of us because they see we have a weak commander in chief who has allowed chaos and turmoil on the world stage and is also allowing chaos and turmoil in his own home country. They see we cannot even secure our own border. So why wouldn't Putin go and invade the border of another bordering nation? So this not only has implications here on our homeland, but also around the world. And it's why we so desperately need President Donald Trump to take back the White House in 2024.
Yeah, recently he said that we must redouble our efforts to ensure that anyone who comes to America shares our values and assimilates into our culture. He said we don't want people coming into the country who hate us, and we want people that love us. Mm-hmm. So how do we make that happen?
Oh, well, doesn't that sound nice to have people coming to your own home country that actually care about it and respect law and order? That's what America was built on, right? A legal immigration system where people waited their turn, they paid their dues, and they came here because they loved America. And you speak to legal, L-E-G-A-L, legal immigrants, may I emphasize, that are here today because they came here the right way and they love this country and they're so grateful for the opportunities that they only have in America. We need to get back to that. First, it starts by shutting down our border, as Donald Trump has consistently said, stop the invasion. And then he's also committed to launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history, using our United States military to find and return any of these illegals who have come here over the past couple of years, starting with the criminals, the convicted rapists, murderers, and felons. Right? They will go back to their home country. They will not return as long as Donald Trump is president. That is, again, a lofty goal that I have full confidence that he will achieve because he believes strongly in it. And he actually cares about law and order and the safety and security of the American people. And then we can get to fixing our legal immigration system that allows for people who actually love this country to come here to work hard to build their own American dream.
You know, and that's where the police come in. You know, I have to tell you that years ago, when I was in the New York City Police Department, there was a policy that if we came across someone we suspected of being here illegally, we would detain them for the Immigration Naturalization Service. They would come and they would take the person away. When Ed Koch became the mayor, he issued an executive order that the police will no longer get involved in those matters. Now, the police come in contact frequently with these illegals. Oftentimes, they're the first ones to know about it. Mm-hmm. So he would have to really, change things where the police would have they have the right, but it has to become a national policy where the police come across illegals, they hold them like we did here in the city, and other cities did the same thing years back, and hold them for immigration. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And nowadays in New York State, as you know, Ed, when local law enforcement contact ICE, they are not allowed to do that. Local law enforcement are not allowed to contact the immigration authorities. Imagine that. Joe Biden has and your Democrat politicians in New York State and many other states, blue states across the nation, have actually tied the hands of local law enforcement, prevented them from doing their jobs. My home state of New Hampshire, I've heard from state troopers who pull over vans full of illegal immigrants. They call ICE and nothing is done. These people are allowed to proceed. They're not allowed to arrest them. How are we supposed to enforce our nation's immigration laws when these illegal immigrants come here knowing that once they're here, they're going to get a free pass? And in the cases of New York or Massachusetts, you're actually going to get a driver's license. You're going to get free healthcare. And in Massachusetts right now, you're going to get free housing too. So those are incentives that Donald Trump will demolish on day one. If you come here illegally, you're not getting anything free. And we're going to send you back to your home country and you're never to enter here again. That is how our nation should be run.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan & Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan & Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
Well, not only that, but if you recall, our former governor, Cuomo, he referred to the immigration people as thugs. I mean, can you imagine saying that they were thugs?
I know. The people who are swear an oath to hold up the Constitution, who put their lives on the line, sacrifice their own safety every day, are the thugs? No. The people who are blatantly violating our laws are the thugs. And you know what? I'd like to see your former Governor Cuomo suit up for one day in New York City and try and go fight the criminals and the crime that those poor men and women in blue have to every day. But he doesn't have the you-know-what to do it. And many of these Democrat politicians don't. They don't care about law and order. They care about power. And let's get to the moral of this issue. Why do we have an open border? Why do they want illegals to get driver's license and other means? Because they want their votes. It's all about power and control. It's never about the safety or security of the American people when it comes to the Democrats.
Karoline, I thank you so much for a very passionate and informative talk today, giving us insights into the president's crime plan. I know you're extremely busy on the campaign trail, so I don't want to keep you too long. But again, thank you so much. And I think, as you know, police are some of the most dedicated supporters of the president. So anything we can do to get out law enforcement to help with the campaign, please let us know.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much and appreciate what you do, Ed. As I said, thanks for your service, 40 years in the NYPD. God bless you. That's very impressive. And I can assure your audience, which I'm sure many of whom are law enforcement, retired and current, Donald Trump has your back. He always has. He always will. And we must reelect him for 2024. Thank you guys so much.
I would like to thank everyone for listening to another episode of Cop Talk. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. You could also follow us on Twitter at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. Until next time, be safe out there.